Welcome. The forthcoming Edo State Governorship election is drawing closer, ever so closer. And the political parties, especially the major ones, are in the thick of preparations ahead of the campaigns. The state chapter of the All Progressives Congress has released a list of the 256-member State Campaign Council with Senator Adams Oshiomhole, former state governor, and senator representing Edo North as chairman. Are there any surprises there? We have also members of that committee who look at all this and other issues surrounding that forthcoming, very keenly contested election in Edo State. Tonight with us in the studio is Andrew Emwanta. He is the convener of Edo Generation X Movement, and he's looking like a real Edo man with his beads and the white. Andrew, it's good to have you in the studio.
It's a pleasure to be here, Kofi, and I want to say good evening to all our viewers at home.
Generation X. Why Generation X? That's something that intrigued me. Let's start from there.
Yeah, thank you. I'll start by saying that it is an idea whose time has come. And the simplest way to start is to define those within that age bracket. Those born after 1965. You know, you have a baby boomers generation before that. Those born immediately after the war, before 1955. So my own generation are those born after 1965 and say before or in the year 1980. Right. And in 2019, when Obaseki invited me to be his spokesperson, he made a promise. It was a clear commitment that Emwanta, we are going to hand over power to your own generation. We have been there since 1999. So we feel that it is somebody within that, your generation, that can complete some of the things that Commodore Oshiomhole started and have continued with. And really, he made a sad commentary that not much has been done by those from his generation. So for me, it was an antithesis when sometime last year, he was not projecting Aswe Udalo, who comes from his own generation, who is his age mate. And at some point, I heard that it was Osarode Oge, who is almost 66 years, that will be the running mate of that person. So we felt isolated, and that was why I left the PDP. Clearly, and that was why I left the PDP and decided that we must start something new. We must start something different. People from my generation are very qualified. So you're looking for people
below 50 years?
I mean, those, yes, not just below 50 years, but below 60 years.
All right. Interesting.
Technically below 60 years.
You campaigned for Godfatherism Obaseki. Just in a few sentences, how has it performed in your estimation?
I would say below average. Because all our campaign promises, like he promised an airport in Edo North, he talked about the Gele seaports. These are audio things. You cannot have a visible appearance of this project.
He didn't do that?
He promised, yes, he even promised, University of Innovation in Edo South. There's no academic institution you can point at. You'll say this was an institution established by Obaseki. I mean, the Obaseki's government. And it's sad that I was part of that government. And again, you look at, from the time of Ogbomodia. Ogbomodia was the one that built University of Benin. Under Lucky Gbenedion, he built the Polytechnic in Usa. Oshiomhole gave us a private university, very beautiful school, a public university in Iyamo. But what Obaseki has is a government that has been renovating public institutions, renovating academic institutions.
Is that an error of judgment on your part?
I think at some point that was why I left in protest, because like the roads in my local government were so terrible. We refused to fix the roads in my local government. There were no projects.
It was your local government?
Local government. When I saw a governor start, commissioning street lights, it means it's a problem. What even a senator at that time, Senator Adams, brought street lights to my area. So as I said, a government cannot make commissioning of street lights its main priority to the people. And for me, I think a new government led by my party, the APC, if the people of Edo State now decide to give my party their mandates, we change that narrative, because this present government has failed completely.
Your error of judgment is what probably you're admitting that you made a mistake in supporting Governor Godfatherism Obaseki. Yes. How sure are you that, because apart from being the convener of Generation X, Edo Generation X, you're also a deputy director, publicity committee of the campaign council for the Edo APC. I don't know if it's part of the committee that has just been announced, but we'll talk about that. So what was to say you're not committing another error in judgment?
Thank you. I think that's where my movement comes in. Because as an Edo person, the first constituency is Edo State. Political parties, they come and go. And I'm sorry to say that most of our political parties are failed Nigerians. including my party, the APC. You see the crisis in APC. People are taking the national chairman to court left, right, and center. The same thing in the PDP is even worse there. At last count, all the aspirants took the party to court over their primaries. Even Labour Party has that same challenge. But what we want to do under the auspices of Generation X is to bring the three leading candidates of the PDP, Labour Party, and the APC to our platform. We have to question them.
But you're an APC man, and you've questioned the age of the PDP candidate. But development, governance, should never be about age.
That's why I said we'll invite the three of them. If you notice, we are not isolating.
But you're campaigning for the APC candidate, and you're campaigning against the PDP candidate. One of the bases is his age.
But for
you just
me,
said it here.
But for me, we are not going to be biased to now isolate him. Yes, we may have a bias for a younger person, but again, he's already the candidate of his party. So it's really up to him to tell us that. First, he meets the three C's of character, competence, and capacity.
You will never campaign for Igodalo. You're an APC man. You're in the campaign council.
No, I'm not. No, with profound respect, I'm saying that we are going to present these persons to Edo people under the auspices of the Edo Generation X Movement, and they will make their choice.
But you campaign for the APC candidate. That's your candidate.
I can, as a matter of fact, tell you that there are some people within the media who have their preferences. So that will not preclude them for creating a platform for people to extend.
You can't engage in anti-party activities.
But why do you think that my candidate is not qualified? Why do you think? Because he will come on that platform and he will tell Edo people what he has to offer. Because I've told you earlier, I said the problem we have is that political parties tend to be clad a sense of judgment. Because when you talk of development, when there's a bad road, PDP is not written on that road. It is a person who occupies the office.
So why commit to be member of a campaign council if you
as a member of the campaign council, I will not lie to Edo people because I was also part of the Obaseki's campaign council, and today people see me as one of those who projected Obaseki. So we don't make that same mistake.
Right.
I think, in all honesty, that my candidate has the capacity, and I expect him to appear before the Edo Generation X Movement. You also have another platform, the Rescue Edo Movement, and to be on the auspices of the Nigeria Watch media platform for the whole world to see who has the capacity, who has the competence, and who has the character.
I believe that you have already decided who has the capacity. But,
no, don't be too sure.
Okay,
because there are people from the three different parties that will be on that panel.
Let me take your thoughts on the constitution of the campaign council. The 256 member state campaign council recently announced with Adams Oshiomhole as chair. What are your thoughts on that? What does this say about the preparedness of the APC for the election?
I think the APC started well by looking at its membership and not just picking the cream de la cream, but we also did something which looks very unique. We ensured that at the senatorial level, we have campaign councils at the senatorial level. At the local government level, we have campaign councils. At the various ward levels too, the 192 wards of Edo State, we have campaign councils. And also at the unit level. That way, members of the party will have the opportunity of selling our campaign manifesto to Edo people, the voters. And that way, we commit ourselves to what I will call the new social contract, right? Because APC has been out of government for a very long time. Remember in 2016, Edo people voted the APC in the person of Godfatherism Obaseki. But he took our mandate and dashed it to PDP in 2020. So that is a mandate the APC seeks to recover. And as such, we must tell Edo people why APC is the party to beat. Because what we have today in Edo State is a very unpopular government. That's why on a weekly basis, over 50 members of the PDP leave their party. Just today, I've seen 20 letters of resignation. Do you have this do you have verifiable evidence for this? Of course, I said 20, over 20 members
they can also say that candidates are also leaving their party, your party, for their party.
No, there's no doubt that one or two persons who are aggrieved have left. Even the campaign council, as a matter of fact, that was constituted, one or two persons left. And that's what politics is. It's a give and take. Okay. You lose some, you win some.
256 members, is that not too much?
When you compare that to the number of the PDP, which is over 500, and I think ours is more than that, if you ask me. We have a huge campaign council too, because we are trying to be all embracing in view of our members. We have a very huge membership strength. And when you look at the campaign structure too, campaign council structure too of the Labour Party, it is huge because these are the three main political parties. Other parties are like spectators. I'm sorry to use that expression. We know, as a matter of fact, it is a global trend. Even in the UK, you have the three major parties of Labour Party, the Conservatives, and the Lib Dems. Others are just spectators.
Well, Reform UK is making a strong push.
UKIP is doing well, even Nigel Farage party and others. But you are talking of the three major political parties.
Is this, in your opinion, this forthcoming election in Edo State, Andrew, is this a two-horse race or a three-horse race?
As a matter of fact, it's a three-horse race. I remember the Labour Party candidate is a former president of the Nigerian Bar Association. And I must be honest in his assessment. I voted for him as NBA president in 2020, and he did very well as NBA president. He did very well. So the three leading candidates of the three leading political parties, I think they are not persons that you will just right away. But the biggest problem of a PDP candidate is that he carries the burden of Obaseki because he's part and parcel of Obaseki's government. And just as I noted earlier, Obaseki's government have performed below average. If one is to score him, I don't think I'll give him a pass.
All right. The chairman of your party, the APC, in Edo State, Jared Tenebe, said that as far as the APC is concerned, they don't consider Akpata of Labour Party as a real threat. So probably it's a two-horse race. But you said it's a three-horse race.
I don't think he said that, in the sense of trying to run down the Labour Party candidate. I think I remember I read that interview in the Punch. Yes. What he was trying to say is that the focus of our party is really not Labour Party.
No,
right?
but what he's saying is that it's probably not a threat to be a two-horse race, and you're saying it's a three-horse race.
I think Labour Party is a serious threat. I don't think my chairman, with profound respect to my chairman, is very wrong. Look at the last election results. APC came second, Labour Party came first in the presidential elections, in the National Assembly elections. As a matter of fact, it's only in Edo North we did very well in the National Assembly election. So if you are going to use the presidential election as a barometer for measuring, it would be unfair for anybody to think that the Labour Party is a party you just write off. And people are not happy. Are people happy generally? I mean, our economy is in a very terrible shape. Inflation, prices. You will not blame the state government for that.
But at the level,
of the state government, the situation is even worse because you have a very helpless government there.
But the national economy supersedes whatever the state is.
That's what I considered. I said the national economy is not good.
Who's responsible for that?
Of course, my party controls the federal government.
So the APC.
So I'm saying that it is not fair for us to start writing off Labour Party because if people are to turn, they'll turn to the third force. So that's why we must watch. Watch Labour Party instead of PDP.
Oh, really?
We should watch Labour Party.
Wow. I would like to put Jared Tenebe and yourself together so we can have a debate on this.
No, because as a matter of fact, it is his own personal opinion. I'm not a robot. I came here as Andrew Emwanta, the convener of Generation X Movement. In my own generation, we think out of the box. We are not blinded by party loyalty.
All right, let's talk about the performance of the All Progressives Congress. Since 2015, when your party came to power, it's been a disaster. Will you say that?
No, the thing is, I joined them last year, so it should not be fair for me to start doing the proper analysis.
You're
But I'm talking of from the time I joined.
No, you're Nigerian.
To date.
Speak as Andrew.
No, okay, if I'm speaking as Andrew, which I have been speaking as, I just gave an assessment that our economy is in a terrible shape. It didn't start today. So I think it's self-explanatory.
Do you think it will count against your party, even though it's a state election?
It will, because we have to explain to Edo people that we'll be doing things differently. Because people will want to assess us based on what is happening nationally. And our candidate is a senator of the Federal Republic. So we cannot isolate him from the situation in the country. But as a person, he has done very well. We have a terrible road in Edo. The Biniauchi road, the Ekpoma Ewu section is so bad. Of course, he moved the motion on the floor of the Senate, and something has been done about that road. So that's one out of many interventions. As a private individual, he has given out scholarships, he has given out a whole lot of support to people of Edo Central. And the promise is that he's going to replicate that with state resources.
Andrew Emwanta, I heard you say Asue Godalo, the candidate of the PDP, has the burden of Governor Obaseki on his shoulders. Yes. But it could be argued that your candidate, Monday Okpebolo of the APC, has the burden of former Governor Adams Oshiomhole on his shoulders as well. And the only one who may not have a burden on his shoulders is Olumide Akpata. some could argue that it is, yes, indeed, the issue of Obaseki is there. Like your party chairman said in an interview with The Punch, that it will be Aswe spending Edo State money through Governor Obaseki or vice versa. But Edo people have also proven in the past that they abhor Godfatherism. And you've been talking a lot about what Oshiomhole has achieved, what he has done. You've not even been talking about Okpebholo. It's about Oshiomhole. Don't you think Edo people, as they've done in the past, will reject APC because of this word called Godfatherism?
I think in the case of Okpebholo, it is not something that really touches on Godfatherism, because in that last election, the primary elections of the APC, Oshiomhole did not support Okpebholo. So it was not Oshiomhole that decided his emergence. Rather, Oshiomhole supported Denis Idahosa. I dare say I was one of those who supported Okpebholo, and we did our best to ensure he won. You know, I don't want to mention names. There are some powerful forces in our party who supported him. I was just a media face of that struggle.
We were there.
I was just a media face of that struggle. So unlike in the case of PDP, where Obaseki imposed Aswe Ighodalo, and that's why about 4 or 5 of the aspirants went to court.
You can't say that.
It was a clear case of imposition. We don't need to deceive ourselves.
What we know is that your party had a smooth primary.
Aswe Ighodalo didn't even have a voter's card. Even the issue of voter's card is in court. So a man that has never voted before, that has no political base, it is the government of the day that supported him. So Obaseki, his commissioners, and the lawmakers all supported him.
Speak to the issue of Godfatherism.
I think for us, it is a big problem, because Obaseki in 2020 complained that he was being witch hunted by Oshiomhole, spoke against it. Even when he had that meeting with the former President Buhari, he came back, was addressing a news conference that if tomorrow I become a godfather, the people of Edo State should deal with me. And that's why I'm one of those dealing with him, because we are saying no to Godfatherism. Because he is now the godfather of the PDP candidates. He controls it. He controls everything. They use state resources. We have a case of clear state capture.
But
he had this in mind. I'm coming. He had this in mind. He had this in mind when he made Aswe Ighodalo the chairman of Olagodalo, his economic team, just the same way Oshiomhole made him the head of his economic team. So it's like a trend.
But you're not speaking. Yes, okay, fine. Granted that there's an issue with the PDP. What about the APC? Is that not an issue? You've said it's an issue.
For me, I'm not saying, because Oshiomhole seems a bit isolated from even the camp. He's just a chairman. He's not the DG. And I noticed too that...
He's the leader of APC.
He's the leader of the party, and he
controls the APC.
He's one man I'm so proud of. And I will say it here, that when you talk of the history of our state, Oshiomhole stands out. Right? For him to have even considered to Okpebholo, it shows that he's a Democrat. He considered. And I have so much respect for him. And if you notice, I've not really spoken so much of Okpebholo, because it is this process that will throw him up as a new player. He has not been more than 2 years in the Senate, right? I have to be honest here. Yes, he has done well. He's our candidate. We have to market him. But I'm saying that under the auspices of the Edo Generation X, we are going to subject the 3 of them in a very dispassionate manner.
How are you sure that Adams Oshiomhole will not use his position as leader of the party to control Monday Okpebholo?
I don't have the powers of a clairvoyant to tell, but I know in all honesty, as a senator of the Federal Republic, he will concern himself. And I noticed lately, whenever issues are brought to him, he says, there's a campaign council, there's a DG. He will normally refer such matters. So I think he's also an elder statesperson. If you notice, he spends most of his time in the Senate. He's busy, very busy. And as such, by the time my party wins, the ball stops on the table of a governor, right? And as such, my governor now has the duty of telling Edo people what he has to offer in terms of his campaign promises, how he intends to deliver those promises, and I will not hold forth for anybody. I made that mistake with Obaseki. It has to come all out. I did the talking for Obaseki in 2020. I will not do the talking for Monday Okpebholo. He has to sit on this chair and tell Edo people and Nigerians what he will do. Because it is at that point you test who has character, because we are talking about the people's power. We've seen it in Kenya. You saw how the president, or rather the government, released the finance legislation and how the people came all out. They destroyed the Senate. So Edo people are watching. They don't want us to make that same mistake of 2020 of coming to paint Obaseki as this and that. And he performed very poorly.
Are all issues, legal issues regarding this are there any pending, let me say, legal issues regarding the APC primary, the emergence of Okpebolo? We were there, New Central at the primary, well, I think it was better organized than that of the PDP. Are there any issues right now?
Kind words. I think at the moment they are not, because I think the matters were resolved internally. I mean, there were dispute mechanisms dispute resolution mechanisms that were set up by the state chapter of the party with the support of the national, and all these issues have been resolved. And I think it's only APC that has that credit. Unlike in the PDP, I think they gave one of their decisions today, and there's another one for next week. So you find that PDP still has a litany of litigations, and that's why you have members leaving them in their droves on a daily and weekly basis. And I don't think it's too good for politics. And again, we in the APC should also be circumspect, because these new members coming, we have to have a way of accommodating them. We must not keep them, because they say an idle mind is a devil's workshop. We must engage them constructively and see how we can work closely with them. So it's transfer windows. People are leaving from PDP to Labour Party. People are moving from Labour Party to PDP. You have people leaving from APC to PDP, and you have the obedience who are in between, you know. And a time will come, some of us may want to be independent, because I like independent politics.
Obedience for Aswe Godalo.
Because when you are independent, you know, you will not be beclouded by anything.
Okay, we'll come to that.
Have a clear head.
You're sounding like someone who could switch at any moment.
No, I'm independent. I'm an independent-minded person, because as I mentioned to you earlier, I said the biggest constituency is Edo State, because that is where our loyalty should be. Because when you are too conscious of this party thing, at times you lose your sense of reasoning.
Okay, hold the thought. We'll come back. We'll look at more of the issues, matters arising in Edo State governorship campaign. And of course, it's still Politics HQ. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. We still have with us the convener of Edo Generation X Movement. He's a member of the All Progressives Congress in Edo State, Andrew Emwanta. You're a lawyer.
A lawyer, a constitutional lawyer, and a law teacher.
All right.
Don't on leave of absence, you know.
Okay. All right. You've gone to politics.
Yes.
Anyway, he's with us in the studio. You lawyers make a whole lot of cash after elections. You know, during the tribunals, election petitions, and all that. Lawyers make a lot of money. You know, but that's another matter for another day. Let's look at more of some of what your party has been saying. We'll look at what the PDP also has been saying. But it's interesting, he says a three-horse race, so we'll not ignore the Labour Party. Now, Jared Tenebe, your party's chairman in Edo State, did recently, say, in that interview you and I both read, that Okpebolo is a homeboy. He described him as a homeboy who grew up in the village, went to the farm. I don't know if he actually farmed. Do we have evidence? And also fetched water from the stream and understands what it is for a poor person to grow up. He understands where it pinches the poor in Edo State. We also hear he can speak the three languages, major languages of the Edo people. But as far as you're concerned, is this really what Edo people are looking for in their governor? Because it sounds like Goodluck Jonathan said he had no shoes. We know what happened afterwards.
Yeah, thank you. I think what he has said about our candidate, the APC candidate, is true. I mean, with such a humble background, he understands the plight of the common man. But that does not translate to competence. It does not translate to capacity. It does not translate to character. Because in terms of poverty, it is a common denominator in places like Africa, where most people have very humble backgrounds. And as such, there are many people who have the same story. But what I think he would do differently is what Edo people want to hear. Right?
In terms
of his track record of business and all of that.
Okay. What's his track record?
The late MK Abiola has a similar track record. They said the first time he ate egg was when the wife gave him, Simbiat Abiola gave him egg the first time. So I don't think anybody can be that poor. And when you look at the history of our country, MK remains one of the richest. Concord Airline, just name it, Concord newspaper. So, and unfortunately his election was annulled. So for me, I don't think it's just enough to tell people you have this kind of background. But what are you bringing to the table? That's what Edo people are interested in, because we have a very terrible economy created by the PDP government. And it's a mess that must be cleaned. So for you to clean that mess, you must have the three C's of capacity, character, and competence.
All right. So what is it about? Because I mean, I'm hearing things like, Aswe Godalo was born with a golden spoon. You know, he's not an Edo boy and all that. What does? Let's look at all the candidates. Put the cards on the table. What do you think each of these three leading candidates, since you said it's a 3-horse race, are bringing to the table?
Okay, I think I should start not in an alphabetical order, but I have to start in an alphabetical order, as is the APC. We have a candidate that has, just as you have said, a very humble background. Today, he has been able to establish his business, and through his business, he has supported communities, you know, across the 5 local governments in Edo Central. Even when he was not in government, he has provided scholarships. He has, you know, supported communities to build schools like the one in his village where he comes from. You know, he has provided borehole. You know, in the Edo Central Senatorial District, they have issues with water, so he has provided, you know, that's water.
Is he a career politician?
No, I think as a businessman, he did the bulk of that. It was when he was running for Senate, he became active with politics. But as he would say by himself, he learned politics under Chief Tony Aneni. He was one of those people who were close to the late Chief Tony Aneni. So with that kind of pedigree, one can rightly say that he became a politician by accident, because he was purely in his business when, through friends, he became close to Chief Tony Aneni. He was not a known name. As an underdog, he won the senatorial election. He broke a jinx in Edo Central. Right. For the past 20-something years, PDP was in control.
But it sounds like it's all about his political career.
He defeated the PDP candidate as a giant killer.
What has he done outside politics?
I think he has his business, and you know, his own biography is one book we are still reading. It's not something that is not like a closed chapter, right? He's into ICT, you know, Chapman Computers, as we know it, is one of those companies that, you know, through which he made his fortune, and he had to give back to his community.
Okay, let's look at the other candidates. Let's start with...
So I've finished with the APC candidate, and of course, as a senator, I told you what he did with the roads in Edo Central.
Let's go to Labour Party, alphabetical order.
Alphabetical order. The Labour Party, Olumide Akpata. You know, I said I voted for him in 2020 as the president of the Nigerian Bar Association. And he did very well. Did exceptionally very well. I mean, I'm using this just to tell you that he's a man of capacity. You know, whether he will do well as governor is a different kettle of fish. And I think I'll leave it at that, right? Then coming to the PDP candidate.
So when you say he did well, I mean, what are some of the things that he did that make you say?
I can tell you that on a daily basis, he sent me an email to tell me the progress he was making as my president.
Wow.
And I'll say I'm very proud of him.
Wow.
You know, because that's my constituency. If I leave politics, I go back to as
commissioner.
When I resigned as a commissioner, I went to legal practice. That is my constituency.
Was he financially?
That is my farm.
Was Akpata financially transparent, and did he run an open, you know, and open administration or tenor?
To his credit, yes, he saved over 1.something billion. Right? He created a sinking fund for lawyers to assess. So I'm one person, if you have done well,
so he revolutionized
the MBA. I told you, I got emails from him on a daily basis, updating us on what was happening. And he made the MBA house in Abuja it was a beehive of activities. The center of the Institute of Continuous Legal Education, just recently, it was under his watch, it was revamped. They created room for 500 lawyers to be trained by the local content board, all expense paid. So these are some of the initiatives he started.
Do you feel MBA was made more welcoming for younger lawyers?
He created a platform, and he broke the genes as a non-senior advocate that won an election after how many decades, right? And it has created a new vista of hope for those of us that are non-senior advocates, that anything in our profession is possible. And again, he became a voice of the voiceless as MBA president. There were instances where he fought governments. We had that instance in, was it Abia, yes, or in one of those two states? I think the state where you have the president minister for works, Omahi. So as NBA president, he did very well. Whether he would translate that to governance is a different thing. Then you come to the last person.
Very quickly, please.
Aswe Godalo. The way I can describe him is he served as the chairman of Alahudaro, and it's like sunlight and noonday. You cannot separate the sun from the day. You cannot separate Aswe Godalo from Obaseki. So he must swim and sink with Obaseki's government. As chairman of Sterling Bank, not even a single ATM machine was brought to Edo Central, where it comes from.
We have to go. We have to go. Andrew Emwanta, thank you very much for your time.
Always a pleasure to be here.
Well, keep our eyes on that Edo State election. We'll be back with more right here on Politics Issue. We'll talk